Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. On this one, we're going to cover something unusual. There's nothing worse than welding overhead. You got a panel that needs repairs done to it, needs 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces welded into it, and then you got to get inside and try to weld all that up. Now, I'm going to show you how I go about repairing sections like this here if they have a lot of repairs to be done to it. It's not a panel that you're going to want to make, but if you got to repair the panel, I'm going to show you how I did it. Stick around. On this video here, we're back on the old Chevy cab that we got here that we're restoring. In the last video, I turned around and I built this one here, made all this here from multiple pieces and repaired this section here. It's been a while since I've been at it. I'm finally getting back at it again. What we're doing on this one here now is this section up here. I have rust in along here, that lip, it goes over to there. I have a hole right here. So I'm gonna have to make a piece to go from here to here. Somewhere to replace this section here. And also on the inside here, I have rust, as you can tell, along there as well, and the lip is gone. So I got to build an inner structure and an outer structure. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to build the outer section first. I'm going to build this section here, weld it on across here and down through here, but I'm not going to weld it in here. I'm going to leave it a little bit long. As you can see, the lip is gone here. I'm going to take the inner section completely out because it'll be a lot easier to work on. I'm going to take out past the good section here and out past the good section here. And what I'm going to do is cut the whole piece out, take it out one piece, and then do the repairs to it, and then just weld it back in the truck again. That's the plan with that. Instead of trying to do the repairs in the vehicle itself, it's a lot easier to do the rust repair out on the bench than it is to try to do the rust repair in here. That way, all I got left to do is just weld it across here, and then weld it across here, and she's back in. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to make a little template for this here, a little flat piece of steel, and get the shape that I need, and then figure out how much metal I'm going to need to do that. There's a little template I made. You heard me hammering in the background there. All I'm doing is, you can see the way this comes over, it gets tight, and this is tight here, and it's round here, and it's tight here. I'm using the vise to tighten it up each time I does it. When I rolled it over, I put it in that way, I tightened it up that way there, and that's how I got the actual nice tight bends. Just use the simple vise. So now I'll go hunt down a piece of metal and start making this. So I got a piece of scrap here, and I measured it up. This here is way wider than I needs, and this here is way longer than I needs. So I'm going to cut this out now and clean all this stuff up so I can get ready to put it in the little break there. So I got the piece of metal all cleaned up there. What I got to do now is I got to start putting the bends in it. The first bend is about 3/4 of an inch long. I'm just going to eyeball it, give myself a nice straight edge there. This will be the one that I'll have to trim off again later. There's a decent bend there, nice sharp bend. What I got to do now is I got to start putting the other bends in it, which may be trouble. Yep. Right off the bat, I'm running into trouble. Take two. I started to bend this up on the brake there, and the problem I'm having is this inner lip. I can only make it so wide, I can't make it narrower, and I need to have it narrower in order for it to work on this here, because this here section here only has to be this wide, and I can't bend it in that brake. So I'm going back. I'm mixing the two brakes together now. I think I'm going to do. I'm marking the actual piece here now, marking it out. So I got all the bends in place. I've been putting stuff on it. I've been using the protractors and marking it, and taking a hammer to punch. And I've been punching the metal there, so I actually can see the reference points of where I got to set it up. So I'm going to get that set up there. And moved on to the next one, which is the same as that. So all I need to do now is set this up this way. Oh, there we go, the right hand. This way. Same thing down here. I'll use your left hand out of it with it. I'm a southpaw. Yeah. Now this last one here is going to be tricky. So I got them all marked on that now. They're all the bends I got to make, and they shows through on the opposite side. That's the reason why I punch them. That way I can follow along. I'm going to figure out how to bend that up there. So I'm over here on my old trusty homemade brake that I got, and I'm going to experiment. I got another scrap piece of steel here, and I'm going to try to bend it up on this here, just see if I can make all the bends, just by going in straight with it. So I'm just going to start making bends on this now, see if I can make the angles that I need. Just a rough idea. I know it has to be smaller and whatnot, so I just want to see what happens here. This one here that's going this way. This is the mistake, the problem I got with the other brake is you can't make this bend here. Do that piece. That's that. And this seems like it's going to work. This last one is pretty tiny. That's why I built this brake like I did, so I can make really small bends. I think this should be fine. Yeah, I'll have to work that, but I'll get the bend in it. Yeah, I can work from one end to the other. It's roughly this idea. I made these a lot smaller than need be, but I'll go according to this. Alright, let's get the piece of metal and try that. I got all the bends marked on these, so I'll just go ahead and start bending stuff. But I think I made, the problem you have with this brake is the bends are not sharp. So I may have to sharpen up the bends as I go. As you can see, it's a fairly rolled bend on that. So I'm going to have to go over the vise now and sharpen that bend up. All I'm doing is I'm sharpening up my edge by clamping in the vise. I'll do this on every bend now. I'll move on to the next one here now. This bend here I can't do in that small break because of how it is. Now this roll, that one seems fine. Now that one, I'll go over and sharpen that up in the vise. If you look here, you can see how far this is off. That's the lip there. And I gotta bend that up. You can't bend that in the other break because of, I'm trying to bend this in the inside corner here. Now this break here, the way I designed it, built this here, there's my bend right there. Right in that corner. So when that rotates around, that'll rotate from there. So I should be able to grab this here. This is going to be tricky. I'm probably going to have to dolly a lot of this down once it's all said and done. And but that's how you can bend small bends in this brake. Can't do it in the other one. Not bad. Dolly that a bit now. I'll get my I-beam up for that one. Probably one of the most used tools I got around here is this I-beam. I use it for a lot of things. Right here now this roll is extremely tight. Or I wouldn't say it's tight. This roll is extremely round, okay? And I want to tighten it up. So I'll lay this like this here. And I'll flatten up this upper section right here. And sharpen up this corner. My big dolly, that's what this is. placed there, that's pretty good. A small bit. I can get away with that. I'm happy with that. It's got a soft roll here, sharp edge here. The only problem I got now is that we hold this in place. So this got a curvature like this in it. So I'm going to trim this off here now, and I'm going to try to see if I can put a curvature in this here with the shrinker stretcher. One of the biggest problems you've got when you've got a lot of equipment is you need room to put it. I have a small garage, well, smaller than some of the fellas that I know got shops. This is 26 by 32. Okay, and the problem with it is you got to fit all your equipment in your garage. I got everything poked in the corner here. I had to move out toolbox, my bead roller, or my bead roller. I got to put up my finishing hammer. All the brick go inside here. Move that out. That's one of the dilemmas. People are saying set it up in the garage. You need a complete, I'd say 16 by 24 bay just to set up equipment in. That's on the small side. Some of the guys that I watch on YouTube, Carl over Make Custom and Brent over to Half-Ass Customs, they got big shops. And I'm willing to say they got 3-4 bays of equipment. I'd love to have it, but I haven't got the room here, and I can't have a bigger building than this. This is as big as I can go. Anyway, that's one of the dilemmas of working in a small shop, and one of the reasons why you see that I work with a lot of basic tools, because all this stuff takes up room. The dilemma I'm running into here now is this here will fit here, and this has got to have a curvature in it. I'm going to use this as my straight. This is nice and straight. If you lay this here, you can see that it's not touching here, it's touching up on the ends, and same with right here as well. So there's a slight curvature to this here. So I'm going to try and see if I can shrink this side here and stretch this side here to see if I can get this to turn. And all I'm going to keep doing is I'm just going to lay this here like so, and right here, to use it as a guideline and see if I can get this to open up. Oh, I say it's about 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, about 1/4 of an inch through. And it's right through the hole, works right through the whole middle of it. I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but I'm going to try it. I'm self-taught at everything I've done. I've never done any training in any of this sheet metal stuff. It's all what I picked up. I've done a course in auto body and been a bodyman for many years, and the metal part of it is just something I picked up on my own. This here is the stretcher. No, we're going around. Let's do the shrinker. Shrinker, here we go. Gotta shrink the bottom, stretch the top. Happening? Yes, there is. There's something happening there. Let's go once more from that now. Now I'm going to expect the other stuff to be fighting it, but it seems to not to be. Tricky. Go to the other side now. I'm going to fight the other side, so let's get this here going. Oh yeah. That has moved big time. A little tiny bit more and I think I'd have it. That's unreal, that is. So all I'm doing, none of this in here is happening, but I can see that it's pulling on this lip here. So, because this here is not stretching, so I'll have to dolly it some more, so I'll probably got to go past it, and then I'll probably have to hammer some of this here to get the shape to it. But you can look down it, if you can see it there, you can see that it's actually curving it. Right? Pretty cool. I'm just going to be stretching this and fitting it and stretching it and whatnot. When that gets it, when I'm happy with it, I'll bring it back and show you. Because this stuff is time consuming. Takes up a lot of your time. Well, I'm amazed with that. You look down that. See the curvature on that. It looks the part, that though. I'm amazed that this section here actually worked, this here, because you're not stretching on this, you're only stretching the outside and outside. But this in the side here is actually bending. And you can actually see it, you lay it in place on a square edge, you actually see the actual curvature of the actual panel. And then over here, you can actually, let's say, do the same thing with that. Top side there, and you can see there. Touching on either end, about a 1/4 inch in the middle. So, I'm pleased with that. Wow, cool. Played around with the tool and done a decent old job on that. Anyway, I got the piece made. That's deadly. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to trim this to fit this along here. Do some playing around with some. Back it up. And I'll just trim this off. I might leave this a bit long down here because I just got to be spot welded on here, but I'm not welded on yet. I just want to get it welded down through here, across top here, and down here, and leave the bottom alone because I want to cut this piece out. And when I let this section go up top, I'm hoping that the bottom will come with it when I cut this out, and I can actually repair this bottom section. Now I got to cut it off more over here on this side here, but over here I'm thinking that if I just cut it off in here, I should be fine. So is it bad in there? Yeah, it's bad on the front of it. So I'm going to take that from the middle, I'd say. On the inside, I got some spot welds here I'm going to have to drill out on both sides. Get them drilled out so I can cut the piece out of it. And repair this section here in on the bench. So, anyway, we'll get that all sorted out there now. So I've had to spend a bit more time now, test fitting it, dollying it, trimming it. I wouldn't say I never trimmed nothing. I just kept fitting it and dollying these ends better. And then I turned around, took the grinder, dressed it all up. It's got a nice little curvature on it. Now what I got to do is over here on the truck, you can see that this bottom lip is only about a 1/4 inch long going along here and the spot welded on across there. So that's this bottom lip here. I got to trim that off, so I'll go ahead and I'll get that trimmed off. I just turn around and I put the tape on where I wanted it. And so this is there, and I took a marker in and colored the edge of it so that when I peeled it off, I'm left with a line. Now when I cut it, I'm going to leave the black marker there. I'm going to cut on this side of the black marker and cut along there and trim that off. And then I can, if I want to trim it up more, I can later on. So I got it trimmed off, and then I went and drilled them all out. Drilled out a bunch of spots where I'm going to plug weld it on. I drilled them all out with 1/8, and that is an 11/64, is it? Bit? Yeah, 11/64 bit. That's as big as I can get them. Usually I like them up a lot bigger than that, but that's as big as I'm going to be able to put there. And hopefully I'll get enough penetration. I put a lot of them there, so if I miss a few, well, that's it. Now I'm going to go over and fit this in place and mark it. I'm going to cut most of it out of the way so I can fit this in place and work on getting the end straightened away. And up here I'll do the actual cutting butt across the top, but over here I'll do the cut to fit and the cut to fit here. So I had to do a trim out right here for where the actual hinge goes for the window, because this here has a tip out window and that goes in here, so I had to trim that out there to fit, and then I just fit it up in place there, lined it up, and then marked it on the ends. So I'm going to trim some of this out of the way here now and have it so that I can actually trim it to fit better than what it is. But a lot of this is in my way right now. I'd like to get it out of the way. So I'm going to trim this up and just take it up to this lip here and just cut it off along there, cut all this out of my way. So I got it all trimmed out. The piece out of the way there now. This is the inner structure. I'm going to fix that later. I want to get it set up so I can weld it on here, cross here, and down here. Get that done. Or even just get it tacked in place before I cut the other one out. But I got to do some dollying here on the end to get all this to work right. That don't look right at all. So I had troubles with this end. I'm telling you, there was a lot of troubles down here trying to make this work. I may have to do some splitting and everything, because it seems to me that this taper changes as it comes down here. This taper from here, like it's just for over exaggerating, it's like this, then it just goes smaller when it comes down here, right? Well, look at on the other side, it don't. Looks same all the way around. So I'm gonna play around with this now, see if I get that to fit better there, and then we'll go from there. I'm here sizing up the way things are put together on this, and I got this fit pretty good now. I had to split the corner on it and bring it down a small bit. And I'm gonna weld that before it welds it on. But I'm here looking at everything, and I'm saying to myself, well, this here all has to be repaired in here. It'd be a lot easier for me to cut this out now, repair this, and put it back in there again. That way I haven't got to worry about it when it's welded in, and then I can concentrate on the outside and make sure that's all the way it should be. Because I think I'm going to have to make a template of the other side. Yes, I said a template of this corner, and then flip it around to make sure that it flows the same as this side here. Because it might be a bit low right here on my lip. Not quite sure. But what I'm going to do here now, I think I'm going to try to weld this section up here, leave it there, cut this off in through here. And I'm going to cut this on an angle this way because I'm bad on the inside lip. I got to keep it where I got everything joined here so I can weld it all back in. I was going to cut it off in here farther on both sides. I probably am going to do that. Cut it off here so that way I haven't got the welds crossing over. But I do have a cut here, so I don't know. Because I've been cutting through here to get everything welded up. And it's very hard to weld this here now with the other piece in place. Oh, shag it, I'll cut it off like it is. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead, cut it off there, cut it off over there, and take that piece out. This all I did is I just cut it off there. Over here I cut it on an angle because the inner lip is bad right opposite this here. So I cut this over on an angle to get into some good metal on the front side of this here. Yep, I'm into it now. Now, I'm not even going to try to attempt to make this. It's got too much going on there. It's got an inner lip here. You see the shape that that's in, and me trying to duplicate this. I'm going to cut sections out of it and weld it back together. That's what I'm going to do. The sections of this here, I'm going to weld a piece in front, piece on the side, and weld it in through the middle there corner. I don't want to disturb the shape of it too much. So I'm going to cut a piece out of here, weld it in. Then I'll come over here and I'll cut a piece out of there and I'll weld it in. That's the way I'm going to do this. You may think that's a crude way of doing it, but I'm trying to retain the shape like it is. And, oh yeah, go ahead. You can make it, or, you know, you can turn around and bend up a piece or whatever. This has a step in it as well. There's a lot going on there, and I don't want to get over in depth into it all. I want to try to repair it and leave it like it is. So I'm going to just start trimming pieces out of it, welding one piece in at a time, and making each individual piece to give it strength. I've done repairs like this before. I'm trying to bring life back into a piece, and sometimes it gets pretty tricky if it goes too far with it. So I'm going to take it over to here somewhere, probably cut it across here. I must leave this here because this is my joint that I want to re-weld back up again. I'll come across here, come up here, come over, down, put this little lip on it, fit it in place, weld it on the inside here all the way along, and that way I can turn around and dress it and grind it. I want it out here to look normal, in here not so much because it's on the inside. So that's once I get that piece welded in, then I'll turn around and I'll start working on another piece over here, say, welding this in, putting the lip on here, and just take my time with it. I'm trying to restore this piece here so I can reuse it. Here's my first piece. I got it all trimmed up, fitting in place there. You may be saying, why don't I just go right to the end? I'm using this as my alignment. I want to realign this up the way I got this cut now. It's the same cut as on the truck. I could come up here farther, then I got to cut it to fit. But I want to use this to line everything up. And I'll just re-weld this section here again. So all I'm going to do here now is I got this set up that I can actually weld it on the corners here. Get this welded up, and then I'm just going to do cut and butt right along there. Clean all that out. I'll get this cleaned up and ready to install. There you have it. It put up a bit of a fight here in the corner. Had to cut it again. Also, I was running into a problem. Whatever they have on this here in the way of an epoxy or something when they spray it on it, it's not making contact to the bench here. And I had to grind off the bottom of it there so it actually ground on the bench so I can actually my ground cable. I didn't want to have that clamped to that. I usually use as my bench, and it kept sparking and not getting contact. But anyway, I got it all welded up. I'm going to grind and dress this up first now, and then I'm going to go back in here and weld all this up. There you have it, all grinded up, all trimmed off on the front, all back welded, all nice and strong there now. I like to finish them one piece at a time, finish it right off, and then move on to the next one. You could sit down and cut all this up and weld all this up, then you got to sit down and grind it all. That's done. I haven't got to worry about it no more. I'm going to go on now and weld this one up. I'm going to possibly weld up these holes here, but these here, I'm going to cut a piece out here, bend up a little piece to fit in along there, and weld it in there, have that done. So I never got fancy. Got a piece of steel, trimmed it off, Made a few bends in it so it followed this shape here. Okay, because that's the way that's shaped there. And I just bend it up and I played around with it till I got it to fit nice in along there. It's sticking over here. I'm going to trim this off a bit more. I'm going to mark this out now, trim this all back, get it all where I'm happy with it. That way I can fit it in place. Then I'll start trimming it up to fit that one in place, and I'll get that one welded in. So now that that's done, I'll move on to the front section here now and start making up pieces for that. Now there's a curvature to that as well. You can see what's going on there. So I got to set this up now so that I can actually make the pieces for it. I might make it 2 pieces yet, I don't know. I'll go make something and see what it comes up with. Well, I got into it and I just got carried away with it and I just kept going. I never used no fancy tools. I used a piece of metal that I had there earlier. Not much of it left there now, but the piece that I bent up, I fooled up, I just cut a section out of it, and then this was the one of the lips. Then I went and bent another lip on it. And then I just started shaping it, and there's a small curvature on it. I never done nothing. I used the, if you look at that, all I used was the vise. I laid it across it that way there and tapped on it a few times, and just kept coming back here and test fitting it here and test fitting it again, trimming it up for a replacement piece for there. And then I made another one for over here. I was going to make it all one piece, but this here has this going on, okay? And then I had to deal with trying to bend this here, and I just assumed I had to notch it out here for the actual hinge for the roof, for the windshield. My Lord, bless it. Trying hard to do this with one hand and then get in your own way. As you can see, I had to trim it out there for the actual hinge. So I figured I'd just join 2 of them together like so, and have it in the middle there. Because I had to work around all the issues I had there. But I got that figured out there now. I got the piece made there. I'm going to start getting that welded into that and get this piece finished up. All I got left now is just one more section right here, and I'll weld that one in there now. Do the same process again. I'll mark it, I'll cut it out, and I'll put it in there, and I'll just weld it in place, same as I done that one there. And that's what you call saving a rough piece. Now you could turn around and try to make all this, but there's a lot going on this because this got a curvature in it, okay? It's a curvature in it this way. Then it's got a step up in it this way, and it also curves this way here. By making it in multiple pieces, like this here, I saved the piece. Now there's not much left from the original. There's a small piece there, there's a small section there, and a small section there. The rest of it I replaced. But I crept up on it instead of trying to build it all at once and then just turn around and start cutting all the rust out of it. Because you look at stuff, sometimes you'll have panels that are really, really rough and they got real crazy shapes to it. Your first thing is just cut all the rust out. No, all I did is I just creeped up on it. I wanted to maintain the shape of it, so I turned around and just chased after it one piece at a time. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces welded into this that I made up to recondition this piece here. So now that mounts in the rig like this, and most of this you won't even see anyway, right? But like when you look up in the rig, this is what you'll be seeing. Okay, well, it'll be turned around this way when you're sat in the driver's seat. This is what you'll be looking at, this way here. But that's a simple process of just not getting carried away with doing too much at once. Just keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Take it one section at a time. Look at it and say, well, I could make that patch there. I can make that patch there. And once they're made and they're welded in, well, okay, well, maybe I'll do this in one piece. No, it looks a bit hard, so I'll make it 2. I made that in 2 because of the curvature on it. There's a big curvature on this as well, see? See the curvature on this? And there's also a curvature on it this way. You can see the curvature on it. It is an interesting shape. Try to make all that from scratch. You'll get it close, but you won't get it looking like the original one. Now you can see the way how all rough this edge is now. This will all help me line everything up. I'll fit this back up in the truck again. I'll weld it over here and I'll weld it over here. And then I haven't got to worry about welding overhead because I took it all out, laid it on the bench, done all the repairs. Now all I got to do is just weld it over here, and I'm done. That's that piece. And I got this section here. That welds on like so to that. And that will be the outer roof section. So I got both pieces made, ready to install. So I went ahead and cleaned up the bench because it was getting carried away here. I went ahead and I painted this section here on the inside because I won't be able to get at that when it's all said and done. So I turned around and I got that there done. I also painted it out here where the lip is going to be welded on. I'm going to go over now and install that in the cab. Now, if you remember, I just hacked this off, and all I'm going to do is put it back in place there. There's a bit of a gap there. I'm going to start welding it all in place there now, and filling up that gap, and get that piece welded back in place there, and that's where I'll start with, doing the repairs on this. I'm going to have to take this off and rework it. I don't like the way this comes down, dips here and goes back. This is supposed to go straight from here to here. There's a low spot right here, and I'm only now seeing it. If you stand back, you can actually look across there and you can see the way it flows. This here has to come up right here. So I have to take that panel off now, go over on the bench, split this in through here, and close up this gap here, this distance here, and weld it up. Nothing to panic about. All I did is I split it in through here. Then I start taking sections of it out of in here, clamp this here onto it, and when I close this end down, I drew up the middle here. So now I got it set up that when you look down across it, it's a nice straight edge. So now I'll just go back in and I'll just weld all this up here, weld it up on the back side, and grind, dress it all again like I did before. Nothing to panic about. It's only metal. If you make a mistake, you can always fix it. So I went ahead and I welded it all up on the outside, welded it up on the inside. Now I got to grind and dress this up. Before I goes and grinds and dresses that up, I have a little something that was sent to me. This is cool. Rex Mott sent me this. This is a tool, is what this is. And a lot of people, I've after asked a lot of local guys about it, and a lot of them were saying, you know, what is that? I don't know what that is, and then they try to go on with different things. This is it here. I haven't seen one of these. I've only saw one on the island. With all my years out my trade, I only saw one. Now, I'm going to leave that there for a sec. And I want you to look at this and tell me, what would that be used for? And a lot of people would look at that and, you know, think it's some sort of bead roller, something along them lines there. Nope, it has nothing to do with the bead roller. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to set it up in my vise just temporarily. It's a cool tool. It's an old body shop tool. And I've never had one. And I saw one all the years I've been out in my trade. And this is a tool I'm going to say from the 60s. But Rex, I greatly appreciate it. This is such a cool piece because I'll be getting a lot of use out of this. I'm going to show you how this thing works now. Now this was usually bolted down on a bench somewhere. You open it up, it's got a wheel on it that rotates. And up on the top side there's like a little, it's probably rubber, a hard rubber or something on the top side of it. But it comes with this piece here. And this piece here can be moved from all different sizes. And that goes there. What you use it for is you see me using a lot of these cutting wheels, okay? And I've cut these down with a simple pair of tin snips. Okay, this tool was designed for trimming these down. I can go with a great big one and trim it right on down to a small one. All you do is lay it in place, bring over the wheel, and you got to trim down a perfect circle every single time. This is such a cool little piece. It's got a lot of history behind it, I can tell you that. It's not something that I see for sale because not a lot of people still use these for cutting them down. But Rex, I greatly appreciate it. This will get mounted somewhere because I don't like the idea of bolting this in the vise. I got to bolt this down to something and I'm going to be able to use it. I'll make a bracket on the wall or something for it. But what a cool piece. Thanks, Rex. There it is. All grinded up. Brand new. Problem solved. I'll get that put up in place there now. Look at that, the bubble gum. Don't you love welding overhead? This is the reason why I cut it out, because I could do all the repairs on that there on the vertical. That there, I hate welding overhead. A lot of people have asked me about welding overhead. I find that your welder settings have to be set lower than what they are if you're welding vertical or on top side. I don't know what it is, it just seems to be hotter. And that's all I do, and I'm not concerned about it. If it goes like bubble gum, it goes like bubble gum. I just wants to get welding on the back side, get a nice, there was a nice gap there, so I got a good nice bit of weld in there. Over here I got some cleaning up to do. Look at this, oh boy, I had holes over here. I went and welded them up. All I did is I turned the welder down. That's what I like about these our Captain 200s. This is what I was usually welding with here. That was the settings. And all I play around with is the 7 and 7, 14 and 4. That's roughly what I've been doing. And the weld thin stuff, I was probably about there somewhere. And I just played around with it. Usually I'm up around here when I'm welding sheet metal. Like 22 gauge, that's usually where I got it to. These just work for me, these numbers. And I probably play around with this here. I might turn it up a small bit, turn it down again. This is usually, this is my heat, and I turns this down. I tries to have my wire speed to go with my heat. So, but yeah, I got it welded in there. Now I go through the task of getting that all grinded up. There it is, all welded in. Now over here, I got a bit of an overlap onto this piece here, and same one over here, you can see is an overlap here. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to trim it up and I'll shape this after the fact. It's just that I got to trim up the piece that I put in here now to fit in here, and I'll weld this section here, and I'll grind and dress this lip like need be. But I got it in there, and I wanted to make sure that I had it all welded on the top side here and over here as well. I want to have all that done from the outside, so when I put the piece on over the top of it, the inside is welded. But yeah, there you go. All welded in place. It's a lot easier to take that off and put it on the bench, and this here looks nice and straight now, so when you stand back and look at it, it's got that nice peak going on. and the two angles are there for the actual hinges. So I'm going to start fitting this piece in place now and trimming it up to fit here and trimming it to fit here. As you can see here, I trimmed out the corner here. And I trimmed out the corner here because where I welded that back piece in, I turned around and I had some welding here, so I couldn't go, it wasn't butted again, so I'm going to actually just weld to that weld there now. And I'm here doing test fitting on it. I can't get all of it to fit perfect. I can get so much of it to fit perfect and so much to fit perfect, so I'm not going to overthink this. And I'm going to concentrate on this section right here, getting this right, and getting this right here. And then up here, as you can see right now, I got issues going across there. It's hanging off and whatnot. But I'm not going to be worried about that. I never welded up this edge here yet because I'm leaving it alone. I don't know the height it's got to be. So I'm going to go ahead now and weld this section here and do the same section over there. And then I'm going to turn around and start fitting this up there. I got to do the cut and butt on the top side here to get everything to fit in place. But once I get these welded, then I can start working this. I might end up start welding this stuff up first because I know all of it's going on to move when it's done. So I'm going to do the sections that are the easiest and then work this upper section here on the top after the fact. So I got the end here welded up, and I come over here and I welded up this end here, so I'm happy with the fitment there. What I'm doing here now is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do these spot welds. I'm going to start here because this is where I'm having troubles too. And I'll start doing the spot welds going this way, and I'll come over here and do these spot welds going this way. I'll get them all done next. I got them all welded up. And you can imagine the amount of heat now that I'm after putting to that. Look at that there now. Whoa. Well, I'm going to work all this top section. You can see how much is off over here. But I had to split across here, so that was easy to move. But I'm going to dolly all this now up along here, get it fit and flush again, or flat, where I want it to. I can get at the back side from in here. Hard to see, but you can see where the piece goes in there. I get in the back side there with a dolly. And I'll start dollying this all up. It was so hard to work with because I couldn't get this to fit proper because down here kept moving on me. And every time I tried to get one side fit and the other side go out. And I get this side fit and the other side go out. So I said, no, I'm going to have to put this in and weld it in the bottom and then shape the top. I'm slowly getting there. All I'm doing is I'm just taking my time coming up, working my way up to the edge up here. And I had to open this up here to get this here line here to line up here. And I got this nice and flat along here, and this plane here is nice. Now I can weld this up after, and I think that's what I'm going to do. If I weld it up now, it's going to tighten up this piece of metal along here. So after dollying it up, you can see it's got a nice fit there now. So I'm going to do the cut and butt along there now, get that piece out of the way. One of the things I find with bodywork is you make do with what you can find. None of my dollies would fit up there right. This here fit up there perfect. It's a piece of 3/4 inch flat bar. That's all it is. I think it's 2 inches wide. It's a nice heavy piece of metal. But it had a nice edge on it, and it was narrow that I could fit it up there. Now you can buy dollies for all this stuff. But one thing I always found that a lot of bodymen that I work with that were good bodymen had a lot of homemade tools and bits and pieces of stuff designed for doing certain jobs. Just because there's specialty tools out there, don't mean you got to buy them. A lot of times, just make do with what you got around. I'll go get that all trimmed up now and see if I can get that welded in. Okay, so I got it dollied up better. I went and done the cut and butt along here. You can see I got a nice little seam there now. There's the piece I cut out. That was behind that there. I got that trimmed out. Now this here is high and it's low and all that type of stuff. I can get in here now. I got to start working the panel outwards and fitting everything up in place to tack weld it on. So I can give some strength in this here. I'm going to start from this side here and start fitting stuff. And work my way across over to this side here. Right here I got a bump because this metal here stretched from the wiper. So I got to work that. And then over here I got a high spot here to deal with that I'm going to have to work with. But I think I might just split this in through here, tap it in a small bit and weld it up so this here lines up nice. I'll go ahead now and get started on this here and I'll get this all welded up. Start working my way across there. As you can see, I got it all welded up there, welded about every inch. What was happening when I was welding across here, this was closing up and the gap was closing up and it was touching. It's always nice to have a bit of a gap on your welds here. You don't need a big one, but right here I got a bit carried away because I couldn't see what I was doing. It was an awkward spot to cut and grind, and I should have been stood up here in front to do it, but I was stood on the side and I started to go uphill, but I'll manage with that. And I managed to get this one here tapped up enough to line that up over there. So now that I got it all straightened away, I'm just gonna go back and get that all welded up. Down here seems pretty good now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'll just go in, I'll run a bead across that there and weld it up, and I'll get this all welded up. So I got it all welded up. I got a bit aggressive in here. I was on an inside edge here and I just welded right across there. Looks a nice little bead. Like to do that in your body work in the middle of a quarter panel. Have fun with that. The rest of it, I just done the traditional way. I pretty welded a ½ inch, skipped an inch, ½ inch is what I've done on this here because of where it's too close to an edge on a roll panel. It has a harder time wanting to tuck because it's wanting to go this way. But that's it for that. I'm going to grind it up now and do any touch-ups needs to be done. All I'm going to grind it up with, I'm going to do all my inside edges with just a typical grinding stone. It's got a little bit of a round edge on it. You see it there? There we go. Here you go. See it there, the round edge right there. 24 grinding disc, and I'll do the very tiny, minute stuff. We'll just use this, the cotton wheels, just lightly touch it. I don't use them like grinders. It's like I'll just use them to dig out like a tight inside edge or something like that. But I don't put no weight on the blade and anything while I'm doing it. But that's what I'll do now. I'll take these 3 tools and get that. I'll grind it up. And there you have it. All welded in. Now it's still, it's going to have to be filled and stuff like that. But everything lines up good along there. Flows along nice. It's a little bit of a low spot right here. I don't mind that. But the main thing is now it's all solid again. And we don't need much on that there to get it straightened away. You can see right here. See this little low spot on the lip there. Now I can split that there and bring that out. Not going to have it. Right? That's good enough for that. But yeah. This one here was a bit tedious because it was very small pieces and they had to be welded together after the fact and then trying to get everything fitted, and it was a long panel. So it was tricky. I had to take my time and do it and go through the process of trying to get it all to fit nice and get that inside piece all done, all looking good. So I got all that done there now, and another bit of rust work done on this one. So the exterior of the cab on this truck is done now. The cab itself, I got to do some work around the floors. Not going to bother you with that because there's a bunch of pinholes and stuff like that. And the next thing on this one here is I got 2 doors. I got to put door skins on, and I got to replace part of the doors. So I'll take you along for that one. But I'm going to go ahead now and finish up the floors and this and just get it done. But yeah, there it is. Another repair done. Using simple tools. Never nothing fancy with anything there. That's 18 gauge metal. I repaired this panel down here and I replaced this section here. Anyway, this is where we're going to leave this one. I hope the tips were good. And until next time.